Good evening, family. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. This is Wednesday, July the 13th, 2020, and it is 8:30 p.m. I'm here today to bring you your most recent update and hopefully continue to uplift your spirits and keep you encouraged. First on the agenda is to talk about what happened out of Montana. So, Lewis and Clark County of Montana formally rejected 46 and they made a resolution, and it reads as thus: the Republican Party of the Lewis and Clark County of Montana formally rejects the certified results of 2020, and we hold that JRB Jr. was not legitimately put in place. We strongly urge all Americans to ensure this type of integrity and accountability steps are in place and enforced to correct all fraud and weaknesses identified in the states in 2020. We also encourage that all citizens reject any calls to eliminate the you know what college. Now, I thought I had a prop for that, but they are very determined to let people know how they feel about what's going on. And they're not the only state, but they're the most recent state that I found. And I wondered if there was also some type of coded message into mentioning that it was Lewis and Clark County and Montana. So I did a little research and I asked myself, what happened with Lewis and Clark? And what I recalled is that Lewis and Clark was actually an expedition that was commissioned by President Thomas Jefferson after the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. And what they wanted them to do was to go and lay claim to the western part of the continent before the Europeans decided to go over there, or the European powers attempted to establish claims in that part of the region. So I'm not really sure why they were trying to lay claims before the Europeans did, but I do know that there's something interesting about the Louisiana Purchase, and I'll just make this brief. But if you all recall in some of my other videos, I talked about how Empress Verdiasi Gaston L. Turner Bay, who is known to be the Empress of the Washita people, took the United States Corporation to court over the Louisiana Purchase. And she said that there was no purchase, but she called it the Louisiana theft. So she took the United States Corporation to court, and she brought the allodial title, and it was determined that not only had the United States Corporation stole the Louisiana territory from the Oshita or Washita people, but after they dismantled the United States Corporation, we would return to the gold standard. I'm busy. And the Oshita people would receive $85 quadrillion in gold, or that the money had to be gold back. So who are the Washita people? These are the people who are classified as Black, Negro, or African American. So as many of you know, the people who are classified as Black were actually the indigenous people here in the country. And as a matter of fact, the United Nations in the 1990s declared the African American or Black people to be the oldest indigenous people on the planet. So this is very important. I just wanted to bring that out since we're talking about the Louisiana Purchase. And for some of you who don't know, the people classified as Black here were actually the indigenous people found here by Christopher Columbus. And if you know the 1828 definition, or Webster's definition of American, it will say the copper-colored people found here by Columbus, but now applied to the Europeans. And if you read Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's book, They Came Before Columbus, you will know he talked about the indigenous people who are the African Americans. So as a matter of fact, the indigenous people were called, as I might have said earlier, indigenous. Then their classification was changed to colored, then Negro, then Black, and then in the 1990s, African American, which some say that latter name came from Jesse Jackson. So back in the day, indigenous people or African American people, we did not like to be called Black. it was something that was very dismissive, and it was a bad word actually. And obviously we knew that black meant blank, bleak, void, pale, non-existent, slave. And it's a standing in law, is a legal standing in law. It's not an ethnicity, it's not a nationality. And we hated that because it basically meant you were a slave and you were non-existent. But the term became popularized by James Brown, but you know that everybody in the entertainment industry, they're actually commissioned by and paid by the deep state. And so he came up with this whole terminology, or the saying, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. But nobody liked the terminology black before the 1960s. And that's why. So I just wonder if there was any significance to the Louisiana Purchase or Lewis and Clark being one of the counties that came forward and said, we reject number 46, because everything typically is in code and nothing is usually coincidence. So moving right along, another thing in the news is that Saudi Arabia, they're having talks about joining the BRICS nations, which is very, very monumental. So you all know that BRIC nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And you also know that the BRIC nations made a determination that they were moving away from the United States dollar. They were rejecting fiat currency, or the USD, which only means that they're going to move to the gold standard. So if Saudi Arabia is having talks of moving, to join the BRICS nation, that's just another nation coming on to this conglomerate of nations saying we're rejecting the United States dollar and going to the gold standard. So there are talks that they would be called the SAW BRICS, like Saudi Arabia BRICS. And then I read more news that said that not only are these nations coming together to reject the USD, but so is Iran, and so is Iraq, and so is Argentina, which only means that the dollar is going to get weaker. And if you know what I know, you know that as the dollar gets weaker, gold gets stronger, or the value of gold increases as the dollar decreases. So follow me and read between the lines. You have more and more nations joining with the BRIC nations saying, we're not trading in the USD, we're rejecting the dollar, we're moving to gold. Okay, so earlier Russia had been talking about trading with rubles. India had been talking about trading in Indian rupees, but now they're talking about trading with a basket of currencies that are backed by gold. And they will call these nations that join the BRICS nations BRICS Plus. Can't make this up. It's happening, saints, or saints and ain'ts are people. Saints, as we used to say in church. So as I was reading and listening to the X-22 reports, I just got even more encouraged, because I can tell that so much is coming out with Hunter Biden, number 46 son's antics being leaked of him smoking that Snow White and carousing, being with women, naked photos, all this stuff coming to light, which we brought to light early 2020. But I guess a lot of people didn't want to hear it because they thought we were just being conspiracy theorists, and I understand that. But now it's coming out in social media and different media platforms, and you cannot stop the information from coming out. No one can stop what's coming. Further, in the X-22 report, they said that President Donald Trump has been talking about crimes against humanity on his social media platform. And I can believe that. And I got excited because we have been talking about EO, or Executive Order 138/18 anyway, which said that anybody who participated in crimes against humanity would have their assets frozen. So listen, it's coming out. We know that this is happening because now people are talking about it in social media and in mainstream news. What else is going on, Dr. Pruitt? We know that Durham is talking about unsealed. Here's one of my props. Got to watch these words. Unsealed coming out. And this is very important because this is going to implicate number 44 and his wife, who some people call Big Mike, the wife, because you know about the transgender agenda. So this is going to implicate number 44 and his wife. It's going to implicate number 43 and their crime family, because nobody thought that HRC would lose. But she did. She lost to number 45. She was involved in all type of nefarious behaviors and activities. You talk about crimes against humanity. We're talking about things happening with children. We're talking about different type of trafficking. All this is going to come out when these sealed come out by Durham, or when they're leaked, and we cannot wait. Can you see that word? So this is really exciting how all this information is coming out. And not only that, but we're hearing that number 46, or the present person, Sir Fraudulency, sold reserves of oil to a company that is run by the Chinese mafia. Now, how did this news break? I do not know. But not only that, but this company also has ties to his son, to number 46's son. So you're selling oil reserves, or reserves of oil, to a company that's run by the Chinese mafia, and you thought you were going to get away with that? We already know about the Ukraine and how they're so involved with the Ukrainian mafia. That news broke in early 2020. So I don't know why people refuse to see how deep this runs, and how number 46's family is in major, major trouble. It's been breaking on the news since he decided he was going to run for that office. He and his son. And speaking of the Ukraine, you all know from yesterday that I reported that Russia's President Vladimir Putin said that he was about to annex the Ukraine into Russia, because it used to be a part of Russia. So you see, when he went into the Ukraine to stage a war, he was taking his people back. He was taking this country and the territory away from the Nazis who had overtaken the Ukraine. And this is what the Ukrainian people have been telling us anyway on social media during this war, that they were happy that he was there because he was liberating them. You see how the mainstream media twists all type of things? They don't want us to know what's actually going on. What else did I want to bring out? Oh, speaking of the Ukraine, being from Louisville, Kentucky, or Louisville, Kentucky is where I raised my children. I spent over 20 years there. I know that the Ukrainian mafia runs deep in America. As a matter of fact, we have a whole complex that is a PNC bank and a PNC complex downtown Louisville, Kentucky. And somewhere around 2020, I think it was 2020, the feds raided the PNC bank and shut down the whole complex because it was money laundering occurring in the bank. First of all, it was bought with Ukrainian mafia money, and money was being laundered there, as well as humans and our babies, and all kind of nefarious activity running out of that complex. And so it had to be shut down. So this is only a smidget of what we heard about what's going on in the Ukraine. And I don't know why, but the Creator always lets me see and hear these things, maybe because I have such a passion for reporting what's going on in the news, things that people don't hear every day. So I was in Louisville, Kentucky for 20 years, but I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. And my research led me to find out, or to discover, that downtown Cleveland, which is built up and is beautiful now, we have many complexes, restaurants, and all type of entertainment down there, is bought and owned by the Ukrainian mafia. You can research that. That's something that is not even a secret. So let's see what else is going on. Speaking of China, the Ukraine and China having mafia, and number 46 selling reserves of oil to the Chinese mafia. There's a Chinese bank collapse going on. It's underway right now as we speak. And as you all probably heard, there were thousands and thousands of Chinese people at the banks, asking for their money, begging for their money because they have frozen deposits of up to $1.5 billion in savings, frozen of the Chinese people's money. And the people were at the central banks, rallying, protesting, demanding that they receive their money. They had a standoff with the police, and the police made an announcement that they will detain the people, that they will arrest them, that they were being illegal by standing out there outside of the banks demanding that they have their money. So if the Chinese banks collapse, what does that mean for the other banks? I don't know. Will people wake up in the morning and their assets and their banks, money in the banks be frozen? I don't know, but this is why we're encouraging people to, make sure you have some of your money saved, like roll it over into precious metals, because precious metals will hold your money and nobody can confiscate your metals, because nobody has to know you have them if you have them in a secure place. But if you have them in a bank, they can do a bank bail-in if the banks are in trouble and they can't pay their bills. So I just wanted to bring that up because so much is going on in the news. It could look like it's discouraging, but if you do what we always encourage you to do by being proactive, it can actually be encouraging, because you will be your own bank, because you will have money rolled into silver and gold. And right now, silver is only about $20 an ounce. Gold is $1,700 to $1,800 an ounce. But the true value of silver is about $2,000 an ounce, and the true value of gold is about $10,000 to $14,000 an ounce. But remember, as the dollar decreases in value, which is happening with all the BRIC nations giving up the dollar, and with the printing presses stopping July. Remember, July 4th, 2020 was the end of the printing presses. So they had a charter to print money, but it was the charter ended in 2012, and they were given a 10-year extension, and it stopped July 4th, 2022. So with all the printing presses, no more money being printed, and all these nations leaving the dollar, the value will decrease and the value of gold and silver will increase. So silver, in terms of the Constitution, a dollar is actually defined as a fixed weight in silver. So silver is real constitutional money. So when we return to the silver and gold standard, you will have real money. Remember, House Resolution 5404 under number 45 was put forth to define a dollar as a fixed weight in gold. And also remember, under 45, Dr. Judy Shelton was nominated to be over the Federal Reserve because she's a gold bug. She believes in the gold standard. So if you know what I know, that number 45 is behind the scenes, really still the commander-in-chief, still running things, with the military actually put forward, the military taking down a deep state, but number 45 still in place, then when he comes forward and we have our EBS, or Emergency Broadcast System announcement, it would be made, and an announcement would be made that the Republic has been restored and that we will return to the gold standard. It's only a matter of time. So what else is in the news? Wisconsin made something illegal or unlawful. So Wisconsin came forward and said that, is this it? I don't know if this is it. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if that's the right way you can see it, but it starts from here. I don't think I did it right. But drop boxes are unlawful and illegal. And that's major. That's major, with certain things coming out, certain things that were sealed coming out and being brought to light about what happened in 2020. Saying these things are unlawful means that people are coming forward and they're rejecting what happened with number 46. What else? Oh, what else happened? This is actually breaking. This happened, I want to say, a couple weeks ago, where Virginia Thomas, who is the wife of Chief Justice Clarence Thomas, sent some text to former White House Chief of Staff that was under number 45. His name is Mark Meadows. She sent text to him and they leaked. You know how it is when things leak. And she talked about mass arrests of those people who participated in the great fraud. And she said that they were on their way to Guantanamo Bay. She said there were mass arrests being happened. She said things that happened in 22 were unlawful and that this was going to come out to light and that Guantanamo Bay was being manned and filled with these people who participated in the fraud. So this is what we call soft disclosure. Just like when the RVW case was going to be overturned, it came out in a leak a month before. And this is what's happening now with the information about Guantanamo Bay and a mass arrest. These are just leaks or soft disclosure so that people can know what's really going on. And I published an article actually in March, on March 12, 2020, with the rumor mills. Actually, I had published it on my Facebook account, and then somebody put it in rumor mills, unbeknownst to me, and it went viral. And that was in March. And I guess I could read a little of that to you. But basically, what I was saying was that there was going to be a mass arrest. That the CV, that sickness or that illness was a cover for mass arrest. And I had said that this is something, the sickness was real, but that the White Hats was using this as an opportunity to arrest certain people in power, like Hollywood and politicians and banksters. Let me see if I can find it. But I had published that this was going to happen, and I published it right before it actually happened, and then we had the actual shutdown. So this is what it says: the planet is being cleansed by Dr. Kia Pruitt via email, because somebody sent it to rumor mills. I said, we were told, and this was published March 12, 2020. We were told years ago that there would be an event that would quarantine America and possibly the planet. In order to make global mass arrests, we were also encouraged to stock up food, water, and supplies. We were instructed to remain calm. Martial law may be implemented to keep people off the streets while these arrests occurs, and schools would be closed, flights grounded, airports closed, etc. Mind you, I initially reported this even before March, but then I posted it in March and then it went viral right before the shutdown. Why were we told this? Because the people being arrested for participating in corruption and worldwide, that word P word that deals with harming children, and human T word, crimes against humanity, TREASON, murder, RAPE, etc., is massive. These things are massive and affects every aspect of society. I went on by saying this includes Hollywood entertainers, NBA and NFL athletes and staff, politicians, pastors, banking CEOs, corporate heads, school officials, coaches, and educators. Some of your doctors, lawyers, judges, college professors, school teachers, police officers and chiefs, firemen, business owners, airport workers, pilots, bankers, priests, everyday people are currently being arrested for their crimes against humanity. A lot of them, Dr. Pruitt goes on to say, are involved in nefarious behaviors and secret societies. So the masses have not been privy to their wrongdoings, ritualistic abuse, and things that happen to children, and child hunting parties, ritualistic MURDERS's drug trafficking, involvement in underground activities in the deep underground military bases that we call DUMBs. The next paragraph, I say, this is why some of us reported on a notable resignation list for the past 2 years. Many people were on the list under the guise of resignation. We also reported on military tribunals, which began in January 2019. Some of us watched military tribunals take place on c-vine.com. I had to spell it out because if you say it, then they would flag the video. The corruption is huge. POTUS asks that people not be in crowds. One reason, other than catching the V word, is because the deep state NWO corrupt leaders could attempt to retaliate since they know that we have been involved in a covert operation against them. So be safe. The planet is being cleansed. The CV is a cover, I said. While it is true that the deep state global NWO elites created the V word and attempted to infect the masses, President Donald Trump, or number 45, and the global alliances co-opted this operation and used it as a cover to arrest global elites, including the Pope and the unroyal family. Politicians and Hollywood elites as well would be arrested. The mainstream media will announce that these people came down with the V word. Actually, they've been arrested. Some have been at Gitmo for a while, actually. At some point, an announcement will be made, Dr. Pruitt or I asserted. Remain calm and be stocked up. Those people who don't have food and supplies will have an opportunity to get it from neighbors or the military because troops will be on the ground to make arrests and to keep everybody calm. The National Guard will be on the ground, I said, and a curfew will be implemented. And I said this before it happened. Do you not know that people told me I was loony because they didn't know about the Black Swan events coming, but that's neither here nor there. We were instructed also that the new monetary policies and our new gold-backed system will be implemented and trillions of dollars will be injected into the economy. After global mass arrest, this will occur. Otherwise, these nefarious beings will have once again stolen our wealth and re-empowered themselves. Soon, the Republic, our lawful government, will be implemented and restored, and so will constitutional law. Things are finally getting better for humanity. What an exciting time to be alive, I said. Soon we will enjoy the benefits of Nasara Gasara, which is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, or the global version of that is the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, and our sovereignty will be employed, and finally we will enjoy planetary peace and prosperity for all. Be well, Dr. Kia Pruitt. So I put that on my Facebook page. Actually, I first talked about it. I have been talking about it from 2017, and then 2019, I did a video about it because I was asked by my Facebook friends. And then in March 2020, right before the shutdown, I put that on my Facebook page. Somebody sent it to Rumor Mills. It was published and it went viral. So now we're hearing about these arrests. Now we're seeing Justice Clarence Thomas's wife speak openly about it in text to former House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and it's going viral. So finally, I also want to say that Florida Governor DeSantis made a statement, an official statement. He said, we have taken action to protect the integrity of our, let me see if I can find this. Oh, I can't find it. The integrity of our, oh, nope, that's not the word. E-word. Oh, here it is. I have to be careful not to say these words. So we have taken action to protect the integrity of our, by making this type of harvesting a felony. So you see, Florida's governor is not playing. It's a felony if you participate in these unlawful measures to put certain people fraudulently in place. So the United States of America is a great country, and we have our own government called the Republic. The Republic is what we created. There were people in Congress who looked like me who actually created the Republic for we the people, all the Americans that are here, the indigenous people and the people with whom we had a treaty. We had a treaty with the Europeans, and we love our country, and we will not allow for nefarious people to overtake our country and try to sell it out to any type of mafia in Asia, in the Ukraine, or anywhere else in the world. It's interesting now that I think about it that Saudi Arabia is joining BRICS, because I remember that Saudi Arabia was one of the legs of the triangle that we had learned that number 17 said had to come down. You remember that? There was that controlled the world. It was Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was one leg, Soros, and then the Rothschilds. So it's interesting now that the nefarious part of Saudi Arabia, it has been dismantled. Now the good faction of them is actually returning to the gold standard. So I think that's about it. Let me look and see. I talked about the X22 report. So I already said finally, but in my conclusion along with that, I want to say that, let me turn it off, that NBC News, there was a ticker across the screen. Oh yeah, there's a ticker across the screen on NBC News during the January 6th stuff that was going on. I think it was the hearings. What it said was, the committee details meetings between President Trump and advisors to overturn the you-know-what. So I thought that was interesting. What I reported 2 weeks ago about what happened with number 46 being overturned by SCOTUS, it's coming out here again. It was soft disclosure. It was on NBC News while they were talking about what was going on January 6th. There was a ticker that came across that said, committee details meeting between President Trump, or number 45, and his advisors to overturn the number 46. You know what? If it doesn't come out in a wash, it will come out in a rinse. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. So much is going on. I've already been speaking 32 minutes. I just want to encourage you to prepare. Get your food stored up, get your water, get your supplies, and also, one of the most important forms of capital is human capital. Restore your family relationships. Restore community so that we can help each other, encourage each other, lift the spirits of each other, because all this is coming out just to let us know that the deep state, or the nefarious beings that overtook the planet, they're all coming down. Okay, now your homework for tonight is to look up Project Sandman. You know how we're talking